but that daring act of making writing important is at the same time the source of the danger. For writing makes the living meaning virtual. It reduces it to a state of dormancy, which is the very means of passing it on. The power of its extension is directly proportional to the power of the sign to reduce meaning to a merely dormant, signified state. Hence, writing requires a correlative awakening and actualization, which is the role of reading. But when, by reading, we experience the meaning of written signs, thus making the virtual actual, we undergo a passive experience of receiving meaning by way of an associative process guided by the written text. And that puts an important demand upon the reader to transcend his merely passive state, to convert passivity into activity, to reactivate the original founding act in which the written sign was constituted in the first place. The reader bears the responsibility to reactivate the sedimented, to bring the meaning back to life. That is why the transcendental cure for the crisis is indeed a pharmacon. For language, and especially writing, is as dangerous as it is necessary. If the originary intuitive life which constitutes meaning is entrusted to language, it simultaneously can be victimized by it. Thus, Husserl warns against falling victim to the seduction of language. Intentional life falls more and more under the spell of empty forms which just get repeated and passed along. Genuine discourse becomes chatter, to borrow the term which Heidegger borrowed from Kierkegaard. And the only antidote to the narcotic seductiveness of language is reactivation, which, in its totality and completion, remains an infinite idea, belonging integrally to the infinite idea of universal science. Hence, while historical linguistic constitution is an originary repetition, repeating, consolidating, complexifying, and handing on built-up meanings, in a teleological drive to fulfillment and perfect scientific rationality, it also demands of us an archaeological return to beginnings. The creative process of historical constitution is a self-endangering, but also a self-accumulating progress. It can be kept alive and full of the sense it harbors and passes on only by the meditation that goes in reverse. If the constitutive work of repetition goes forward, phenomenological reflection goes in reverse, retracing its steps. In Husserl's later writings, there is both a theory of repetition, the creative advance of a historically accumulating tradition, and a theory of recollection, the phenomenological historian retracing the steps of the tradition back to the founding acts.